I am the earth walking. I'm not separate. So when I hear that there's sewage being dumped into the rivers, I hear it as like sewage being dumped into my veins. It's the same thing for me. Like I literally feel it as an extension of my body, and I can feel that. Everyone feels that on a subtle level, but doesn't know they're feeling it. You can't actually separate a human from the earth. It's like with our emotions too, and with what we eat. Like I can just dump this in my body. I can just have this terrible job and dump my true desires down into my body and forget about it. So when we learn to respect our bodies, our inner waters, and our outer waters on the earth, then we'll come into a healthy circulatory system of body and earth.
Yeah, water companies being fined because they polluted the river. It's the same thing where if you pollute this river, the fine for this river is £1 million, whereas that river, it could be 50 quid, or that river might be imprisonment because it's such a special river. So each river has its own rights, almost like each country has its own laws. That is quite cool, because in this country, river's a river.
Water also exists in trees, for example. We always think about like that example of being a rooted, grounded tree, the very stable archetypal energy of like having roots deep in the ground and branches growing high. A tree also has tons of water and could not live without water.
So I have always used water filters, and I've always been very mindful of quality of water. And it is becoming more recent in the news that in the UK, there's sewage in water, because we use a lot of water that is from sewage, and then it is filtered, and then it goes into our taps. And if the filter system, for whatever reason, has bacteria in it or a virus, then we are drinking that. And you hear about it in like Africa and how there's really bad water, and you think, oh, never going to happen to someone in England, like we're too advanced. And it's happening. And so I've always had water filters, and we're hearing more and more and more about people getting ill from water. And then I do a lot of meditation in my jacuzzi, where it's very highly chlorinated. And I did a allergy test, and believe it or not, it came back saying that I'm sensitive to chlorine. And I'm also sensitive to things such as macadamia nuts, pumpkin seeds, mushrooms. And these are all things I have every day. And I have jacuzzi every day. So what does that mean? It means that if you give your body too much of something, it's going to respond negatively. But the point is that we are absorbing everything our body comes into contact with. If I'm sitting in the jacuzzi, I know I'm absorbing all that chlorine into my body. And so the importance of water, drinking, is so profound. The same as if you are in the bath or the shower or in a jacuzzi or in a lake with shitty water, our body is absorbing them because we are 80% water. It's so important to make sure we've got the correct water in us, which is as closely related to nature and rain as possible.
Yay. I love talking about water. Thank you for connecting us with the water spirits. I'm curious what kind of filter you have.
Well, just a Brita filter, nothing special. Just
like
a
one of
Brita
those
filter.
Containers, or like one on your sink?
It's just a jug, and it's got a filter in it, and you fill it up, and then you pour it into your kettle, your tea, or whatever.
Yeah. Do you know what it filters out?
It filters out metals, and I presume, I don't know, what happens to water when you filter it? You're just left with water. I don't actually know. I presume it filters out metals and Shit. I don't know. Good question. just filters it, really.
Yeah. I mean, I have no idea what the Brita filters filter out. I just was wondering if you knew. And I feel like, yeah, I mean, I feel like I could use a lot more education on water filters, water systems, the way humans have captured water and brought it into pipes and brought it into our sinks and, you know, wells on the land, and how that is different. And then, you know, these days there's also a lot of, like you were saying, you were talking about chlorine. There's a lot of chlorine and fluoride, crazy poisons in the water that, like, do the filters filter out? Probably not. Probably only a little or none at all, you know. So I think that we're going to continue to need to get very creative. Humans have a need right now, actually, to get very creative with how we source our water and with how we filter our water to stay not only healthy in our bodies, but also like take care of the waters of the earth. So the more that we learn about where our waters come from and how they get to us and how they are when they get to us, the more we will realize the corruption in that whole system of connecting with water. And what I've been hearing from my soul is that the more that humans focus on that quest of knowing water and healing our internal waters, our emotions too, there's all the sort of metaphorical archetypal versions of water, the more that we will heal the whole system, the whole planetary system, because the way that we treat water is the way that we treat the earth. The earth is mostly water. We are mostly water. The Lakota saying, water is life. So the more that we relate with water in a respectful, honoring, loving way in all realms of life, the more that we will come into peace and harmony in all ways. So that's where I'm at with water. I'm getting really curious about it, educating myself in all sorts of different ways. And, you know, where I am right now in Wakefield, Quebec. Oh, are you still there?
Yes, hello, I'm still here. Are you still there?
Oh my gosh, my computer's doing a silly thing. Okay, there we go. The more here in Wakefield, Quebec, there is a spring, and it's like basically a little shed on the side of the road, and there's like a cylindrical container, and you can like bring your 5-gallon buckets, and it's just water that's streaming all the time, like a constant tap, and you just push your 5-gallon bucket or your water bottle underneath it, and it's like this beautiful spring water that you fill up. But right now it's on boil advisory because there's lead in the water, and I'm like, and that's been happening more in the last, I think, 2-3 years. They've had to put on boil advisory. But then I'm also like, can you actually boil lead out of water? I'm like, do you think lead evaporates? I'm like, I don't know if lead evaporates. So then, yeah, I haven't been drinking that water. I've just been buying water from the store in 5-gallon jugs and drinking that because I can't personally drink my tap water. It has a lot of sulfur and manganese in it, which makes it kind of this yellowish color. It is from a well, which I somehow that energetically feels good to me, but I'm not going to drink it. I'm not going to cook with it. I'll take a bath in it, bath and shower in it. Because it's not harmful that way. But yeah, let me know how that all lands with you or what that brings up for you.
Well, we should be treating water just like we treat our health in terms of vitamins and food. We are made up 80% of water, and the earth is made up of 80% of water. So therefore, we shouldn't just be drinking any water, the same as we shouldn't just be drinking like Coke and Red Bull and even fruit juice, because everything is made up of water, and we're supposed to mimic the environment of our body and around us. You know, if you put fish in lead water, for example, or in water that's very high in iron, then they'll probably die. So if you think about our cells need to be in the right conditions, and then we're drinking the wrong water with all these fluoride and magnesium and lead and all the other shit that's in water these days, how are our cells supposed to survive? How is our brain supposed to function? Our thoughts, our clarity, how we sleep, it's all related. And years ago, we used to go to the stream or a well. Maybe you had a well in your garden, and it was great. There wasn't many cars around, so there's no fumes going up into the atmosphere. So when the rain comes down, it's not filled with petrol and diesel and gases from just modern life. And because there's so many humans on the planet right now, we need a system where we can keep everyone alive. And we do that by all sharing the same water, which is filtered sewage. And there was something that came out in the news, which is water owners were paying themselves huge bonuses, and they were dumping sewage into the rivers and the lakes, which people were swimming in, getting ill. And that's basically what we're on about here, the importance of clean water. And I would love a way where we could just have in our gardens almost like a massive water filter system where it just collects rainwater and it filters it, and it just connects to a pipe that goes indoors. We don't need to have one main supplier of water that everyone feeds on. What is stopping people from having a garden with a massive water tank which filters everything?
A lot of people have those in Hawaii.
Do they? Not in England.
Have you seen those before?
I have no idea. So what? It takes the rainwater and it filters it,
Uh-huh.
as
It's
in
called
like it's a common thing for each household to have.
It's called rain catchment.
That's amazing. Is that expensive?
Catchment system. I don't know how much it is, but it depends how big yours is, you know?
Mine's 6 inches.
So you were saying about okay, yeah, I wanted to touch on the people, like the act of dumping sewage in a river. For me, when I hear that statement, whenever I hear something like that, my body retracts and I feel like deep soul pain in my body. That's because I have a relationship with water. That's because I see myself as like, my body, yes, in a way, my individual body ends with my, physical body and my spherical body as well. My energy bodies. And I also extend into the earth. Like I've come to a place in my recognition of self where I am rooted into the earth. I am the earth. I am the earth walking. I'm not separate. So when I hear that there's sewage being dumped into the rivers, I hear it as like sewage being dumped into my veins. It's the same thing for me. Like I literally feel it as an extension of my body, and I can feel that. And now I'm hearing that like everyone feels that on a subtle level, but doesn't know they're feeling it, because you can't actually separate a human from the earth. You can't, we're made of the same elemental compounds. It's the same water that's been cycling on the earth for billions of years. So it's just it's like a belief system in us that says we're separate, that allows us to do actions like that. Because I'm separate from this river, I can dump my garbage in here and forget about it. It's like with our emotions too, and with what we eat. Like, I can just dump this in my body. I can just have this terrible job and dump my true desires down into my body and forget about it. So when we learn to respect our bodies, our inner waters, and our outer waters on the earth, then we'll come into a healthy circulatory system of body and earth. But people are at that point of being separate. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. It's almost like running over a cat and being like, oh, it's not my cat. But if you had your own cat, you would be distraught if that cat was run over. We're seeing that cat as different to your cat, but a cat's a cat. That's still someone's cat that has the same connection to that cat that you have with your cat. It's just physically different, but energetically, it's exactly the same. It meows just like your cat does. It purrs just like your cat does. It wants love and affection just like your cat does. It wants you to feed it and stroke it just like your cat does. So that, what does that mean? It's the same fucking thing. It wants the same thing. It meows the same. It shits the same. It's just physically different, but it's the same. So we see the earth, the water and the streams and the rivers is different to ourselves, or because it's not on our front door, that it doesn't matter. But as you know, water rises and it pisses off as a cloud and drops somewhere else, and then it goes up again and it comes back. So you might put shit in this river that you can't see or you're not around, and it goes up and it goes over to somewhere else, but eventually it's going to come back and you're going to end up drinking your own shit. So it's not different, it's the same. We need to see the water, whether it's in another country or a river, as the same. Almost like when someone has a fence and they're in their garden and they cut the grass or they collect the leaves and they throw it over the fence because they can't see it. It doesn't matter. But if you go the other side of the fence, which is woodlands, you just see all these leaves and all this grass just there. But because he can't see it, it doesn't matter. But it's still part of his environment. It's still there. Energetically, he knows that's there, even though he can't see it. So dumping shitting water that you don't drink, you know it's there. And that should have an effect on you. Unless you see it as different. And this is about saying it's no different. We're all water. The earth's water. We're 80% water. We drink water. Every bit of water eventually comes back around, whether we drink it because it ends up in the stream from the other stream it came from, or it evaporates in a cloud and then blows over to where you are and it drops in your garden and then you drink it. It's still us. It's all the same, even though it's not there physically to drink at an instance. We need to see water as us and respect it. Respect her.
Yes.
Yes, I think water is a wonderful invention by the royals. You know, if there wasn't water, my ancestors would have not been able to come over on a boat because there was no water to float on, and we need water to float. Unless you're hovering, in which case that's a different type of transport altogether.
I really love water because it moves around in a really cool way, and it doesn't have its own shape per se. It just takes the shape of everything around it. It's like the ultimate empathic creator. And also, like, you can never beat water because water doesn't even play the game of winning or losing. It just adapts to anything that comes towards it or meets it. So, fuck yeah, water.
It's like jiu-jitsu, right? Water is like jiu-jitsu. You move where the other person is going to go. So if there's resistance one way, you go the other way.
Okay,
If you can't,
sorry.
yes.
Go ahead. I'll say it after.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu, if they're going one way, you go the other. You're constantly flowing around the body. If you can't move them that way, you try the other way. And if they go that way, you go the other way. Just like water. It's constantly moving and changing and adapting to its environment. You can talk now.
No, I love what you're saying. Yeah, it's so important. I mean, I'm also all about that fluid consciousness, flow state, learning from water. So not only becoming aware of like physicalized water, but also learning about the wisdom and intelligence of fluidity, basically. And for me, fluidity doesn't, it's not just this like, it's not just this sort of feminine, like fluid, never finding stability kind of thing, because water is stable in motion. Water also exists in trees, for example. We always think about like that example of being a rooted, grounded tree, the very stable archetypal energy of like having roots deep in the ground and branches growing high. A tree also has tons of water and could not live without water. So water is the ultimate shapeshifter. Like it is everything. It's not just the ocean or the rivers. Like it knows how to exist in so many different forms, and therefore it's just like such a beautiful guide for learning how to become a masterful being, become a great leader. The thing I was perking up about is that I've just been like casually shuffling these cards, these Earth Warrior cards, and this card has come up like 3 times, maybe 4 times. It says Abuela Medicine, remedy of the grandmothers. So I am guessing that this card has something to say about this conversation.
Okay, so
it
came up 3 times after you shuffled the pack.
Yeah, at least 3 times.
And how many cards are there? And how many times do you pick out a card?
I've only been looking down and seeing this card, so I've only been shuffling. I shuffled the exact amount of times that I picked it, so 3 or 4 times.
Right, so you need to explain what's on the card and the number on the card.
I'm not going to read the whole thing.
Tell us what the card means.
I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's fairly long, but I'll just kind of sift through and see what's wants to be said. So it's number 23. It's Abuela Medicine. Believe in the formidable power of healing, of the transformation that it can provide for all aspects of your being and your life. Medicine comes in many forms from Great Spirit to facilitate healing of the body, of mind, and soul. Whether it is the correction of unhelpful habits of thought, guidance for the practical steps to resolve a physical imbalance, or deep soul healing that frees you into fulfillment of your divine potential, there is no limit to what can be healed through grace. A current of divine healing is flowing to you and through you now. Open yourself up to participate in a beautiful healing transformation. Okay, let's see what else, if there's anything else. That was just like the first paragraph.
You need to do it in an Aussie accent.
Grandmother medicine typically relates to the use of plants through various disciplines to promote healing of the mind and body.
For the people listening, Kai is looking at the card, sticking her tongue out like a pelican.
A pelican. This is also a pelican, I think. It's a bird, a wooden bird.
What the fucking chances of that? That's an actual pelican you just showed up in front of the screen. I could have said any bird. I could have said blackbird, chicken, turkey, dinosaur. It's a pelican, and she just pops up a pelican. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the law of attraction.
Law of attraction. I'm going to put this down and just come into relationship with my own intuition around the card. So, yeah, I think what else, the other main thing that wants to be said is that, from my end, is that I really, truly believe as much poison and disrespect that are in the waters right now. I really, truly believe that there is a way to return the pristine quality of the water on the earth and in our bodies, and even maybe faster than we know. And I'm not saying like I've done all this research around how to heal this particular bacteria in this river and all of that, or the ocean plastic. But I just overall really, I believe in the power of the earth, and I believe in the power of a small number of humans doing big things. And I know that there are people working on the healing of the waters right now, because it's so dire, and then there are good people in the world, and it's just a matter of well, I don't want to speak too broadly right now, but I do really have faith in the healing of the waters. And grandmother medicine really has to do with the earth consciousness and feminine wisdom. And the fact that this card is here really has me connecting in with that strength versus the consciousness of separation and abuse of the earth. And I know that a lot of people right now are like so worried about the planet and all this stuff, and I am too, and I'm here to take action as well, not just like hope and pray, but also my hope and my faith in the process is very strong. One action that I'm going to be taking in this for my love for the waters is learning about water, educating myself about water. I'm learning about the process of rivers becoming persons, so gaining the legal status of a person. So like, for example, corporations have this. Corporations have the legal status of person, and therefore they have rights, right? But the earth doesn't currently have legal rights. There are now rivers in New Zealand that have personhood, and there is one river in Canada that has personhood on the municipality level. So it's not even the provincial level, but it's has a potential to grow into the provincial and national level. And I
what
think
do you mean
there's
it has
one river.
Personhood?
It basically gives it a voice. So like the river can speak for what it needs through the lawyers that are protecting it, right? The environmental lawyers.
So basically, a river out of many might be
Yeah.
very high in lead or high in sewage. So therefore you have sewage filtering, lead reversing. If it needs more, I don't know, oxygen or more trees around it, then you'll plant trees and give it more oxygen. So whatever the river needs, like a human has needs, people will change the water until it becomes more pure. Is that right?
I'm still learning about exactly what that needs, but
That's very cool.
I love what you just spelled out. That makes sense to me. I think, for example, if a company wants to pour sewage in the river can say no legally. So that's one action.
But don't forget, it's illegal to pour sewage in the river anyway. Like, they're not supposed to be doing this. So how do you stop somebody from doing it anyway if they're not supposed to be doing it anyway? I get the fact that you could be like, oh, we've measured this river. There's very high lead in here. So now we need to put lead filtering. I get that, but you can't stop people from putting the lead in the first place, whether it's legal or not. That's the problem here.
So it being a person, it can also sue people. So that could be a way to stop people from doing that.
That's very interesting.
Them. Yeah,
that's very interesting. Like,
yeah,
the banks being fined by the government in the UK, not the banks, the water companies being fined because they polluted the river. It's the same thing where if you pollute this river, the fine for this river is £1 million, whereas that river, it could be 50 quid, or that river might be imprisonment because it's such a special river. So each river has its own rights, almost like each country has its own laws. That is quite cool, because in this country, river's a river. Don't pollute. If you do, you'll get fined. But there's no individual rights or laws that if you shit in this river, then you're going to go to jail for 15 years versus the other river where you might just get a slap on the wrist. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
I would hope that all rivers would have equal rights where we don't dump any, that there's no levels to it. But I hear where your sentiment is coming from. But then my inner fire is like, no, any water, no disrespect. But yeah, I hear the analogy you're making. Yeah, so that's I would love to live in a world where every river and the oceans and the mountains and just any and every nature being has rights. The earth has legal rights. But I think the place to start is with water. And I was watching this mini documentary about the river becoming a person in New Zealand, and the Maori beliefs are that the river kind of has no end, no beginning and no end, right? Like, does it start at the source of the mountain?
Yes.
Yeah, you could say yes, that's where the river starts. Does the river end at the ocean?
No, I'm affirming, yes, I understand. Yes, I understand. Or
you understand? Yeah.
Yes.
Does it start at the source of the mountain? Does it stop at the end of the ocean? Wait a second, but it's part of the water cycle, so it comes.
Does it start from the cloud?
Then it rains down. Where does the rain touch? Where does the rain?
It's a cycle. There's no beginning and end.
Everywhere.
It's just the cycle.
So then it's we start with the rivers, right? We start saying the river is a person giving legal rights, but then it's but then the awareness starts raising. Oh, we have to respect the river, not only in a legal way, but people start having an emotional connection. Oh, we have to respect the rivers because of this law. It's a law from the government. Yeah, because people somehow love to respect the government, even though they're abusing us terribly in a lot of ways. But so then the awareness gets to come into oh wait, where does the river begin and end? And then oh wait, the river touches everywhere. Oh wait, I am the river. So I really see that part of the healing process of water being really important, the legal aspect. I'm not a lawyer. I haven't studied law, so I can't necessarily do a lot of the steps of that process. But what I can do as an artist is what I'm going to be doing with my solo show is creating a performance about water, about that aspect of separation and connection with the earth, flexing. And yeah, and just gathering awareness about that. And I am dreaming up ways of like, you know, I do have this huge fantasy. I'm like, oh, what if my show becomes like big all over Canada? I get all these grants, and then like famous people or like people with money, and I'm like, okay, and then now donate all your money to this, like help all these lawyers make this river legal person. So yeah, I'm just doing what I can as a singular human being, wanting to also work with other people. You know, if there's anybody listening to this who is a environmental lawyer and knows things about helping rivers become persons, people have legal
or
rights.
gender fluid, like the rivers. Fluid.
Yeah, or yeah, please reach out to me.
Anyone who identifies as a tree.
I'd
or
love to connect with you. I identify as a whale.
Oh, okay.
I'm more of a
Very
whale.
nice as that.
Also a dolphin, but yeah.
Okay, well, let's wrap that up there. Anything you want to promote and plug before we finish?
I basically already said it, but yeah, please reach out to me if you are connected to healing the waters and protecting the waters in any way. I'd love to hear from you and learn with you and collaborate with you. Yeah.
Any water lawyers out there, visit kaislookinforalawyer.com. And if you had one day left to live, what is the one thing that you would tell the rest of the world? And I think I know what you might say.
We are water!
Look after your water!
Look after your waters! Love the waters!
Thanks for listening. If you like this episode, please remember to subscribe, turn the bell notifications on, like the episode, and comment below. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's YesKingOliver. Take a look at the other videos to your side. And if you just want to listen to this podcast, you can do so on Apple and Spotify and most other platforms by going to talkwitholiver.com.